to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Show. I am Blake Harrison, and joining me as ever is a heated Stu Whiffin. Why are you heated, mate?
Well, first of all, hello. Thank you for coming back and watching. Just some refereeing at the weekend. It grinds my gears. But let's not start on this note. Let's start on
a more positive note, happy note. How was your weekend, mate? Anything good happen?
I actually got really drunk.
Oh, hello.
And
Whiffin was out. Reminiscing. Was it like old times?
I went to an 18th birthday party, which sounds bad.
That sounds weird, mate.
I wasn't.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, you went to someone whose birthday it was. They're 35 years younger than you.
It's cool dad's here. And, no, but it was my niece's. And I had a lovely time. Got really drunk. I haven't been really drunk in ages. And when you're at a party with the kids, and there were shots flying about. I've done Jaeger bombs. 50-year-old guy doing Jaeger bombs.
Oh, mate, you must have been in a right state.
I was yesterday morning. But we're here, obviously, to talk. Sorry, how was your weekend, mate?
It was lovely. Very much the opposite to you. I didn't socialise at all. I was actually did a little bit of Christmas shopping. Ended up getting a PS5 for myself rather than much for anyone else. And so then spent most of the weekend playing Spider-Man 2. So
wonderful.
Honestly, it was absolutely brilliant. I absolutely loved it.
So just to clarify, you went out to buy some gifts for your children to make Christmas magical.
Correct. We were in Smith's.
Yep. And
they said that the PlayStations were on offer. And I just looked at my wife, who was like, I was maybe going to get that for you. I used to be a big gamer. I used to be like getting the consoles like the month or two after it came out. I'd be on that console.
Right.
And it's been like 2 and a bit years. So, you know, I feel like I haven't really had much time for gaming over the years.
Yeah.
But, you know, the old... well, let's be honest, there's not much work going on, so let's get a PS5 and save New York as Spider-Man.
Yeah. Well, that's lovely. You have a lovely Christmas. I'm sure the wife and the kids will have a nice Christmas while you're in...
sort themselves out. They've already got toys.
While you're in the West Wing of Harrison Towers, just playing Xbox.
Yeah, PlayStation, mate, come on.
Sorry, mate. Sorry, mate.
Other consoles are available.
If they want to sponsor this, just give us a call.
Big.
Well, we're here today to talk about what went down in Austin, Texas this weekend, Sarukian versus Dariush. We have to start at the top of the tree, right, with Dariush versus Sarukian, right?
Yeah. I mean, so funnily enough, my wife came in from taking the kids swimming early, and that's what happens on a Sunday morning. I get up and watch UFC, and the kids have got swimming lessons, and my wife will take them to. And then she came in.
You're painting a picture that you don't do a lot.
No, I do loads.
But your missus seems to do a lot and buy you an Xbox, PlayStation.
No, and let's be fair, I bought it. But yeah, no, I do plenty. I love you, know. She came in. And like I didn't even really greet her and say hello. All she heard was me in the living room just go, "Oh, whoa!" like that. Because Sarukian. I mean, look, I picked Sarukian to win this fight. I had no idea he would do it in this kind of fashion. Like, I was expecting a 5-round decision. I was expecting a really competitive fight, like maybe even a split decision, something like that. Sarukian shocked a lot of people with this performance, I think. And again, I think a lot of people thought he could win it, but I didn't expect that.
Well, we spoke, didn't we, in the pre-show about the fact that these are two very talented wrestlers, and sometimes when you get people whose fundamentals are wrestling or whatever that style is, it cancels them out.
Yes.
And this is clearly what happened here, because that was the timing.
Well, it didn't even have time to get to that level, though. It was so quick that I don't even think it was like their wrestling cancelled each other out or anything. It's like the fight starts on the feet, and the fight was so short that it didn't even have the opportunity to go to the ground.
It was such a beautiful shot, because I thought he landed the knee when it happened.
Me too.
And I was like, Jesus, that's insane. But he sort of, as he threw that knee, it was almost as if, I mean, he must have practiced that, because it wasn't like he landed then threw the shot. He threw the shot kind of mid-knee.
Yeah.
And so by the time his foot landed on the ground, he was connecting with that shot. It was such a beautiful technique. And, oh, my God, that was all she wrote, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I was thinking to myself that Sarukian didn't have the best week in terms of like ingratiated himself to the fans, because the way that he and like his little crew went up to Bobby Green, who was on his own, and were like putting it on him, and Bobby Green had to kind of just like push him out of the way a little bit, and then Sarukian was trying to grab him by the throat, and then later on it looked like Bobby Green and his mates found them again and were properly going after him. I don't think it was a good look for Sarukian at all. Bobby Green's so far behind you in the rankings. Like, you don't have to worry about Bobby Green. It was a very odd choice to go after.
And the fans like Bobby Green.
And the fans like Bobby Green. So it was an odd choice just in general, unless there was some kind of beef that's been said between them that I'm just not too aware of. But it just seemed like, just let it go, man. Like, he's not a threat to you. And you're not building a fight with Bobby, because, again, he's quite a few places behind you.
Do you know what the fundamentals of the beef were?
No, I don't know how it all started. I just saw the hotel footage.
Yeah.
And then, and I don't think that was a good look for Sarukian at all, really. And then later on, it looked like, I couldn't work out if he was there or if it was just some people that were in his crew that kind of like were going after Bobby Green a bit earlier in the day. But then Bobby Green and his boys seemed to get him in the hotel lobby, and it looked like they won that altercation. You know, a couple of Sarukian's boys looked like they were running away a bit.
I mean, there's no winners in this, because it's a grotty look for the sport.
That's the main thing.
And to be honest, like, you've got main and co-main, and potentially them fights could have been not happening had something have happened, you know, in them exchanges. At that level of sport, professionalism should overrule, and it, you know, you can't get caught up rolling around, you know, hotel floors with people that are ready to fight. It's not. Don't get me wrong. You know, it's great to bring eyes on it and hype, but it's the wrong sort of hype. Do you know what I mean?
I agree. Like, my brother was someone that kind of commented, being like, "I love this. Let's create some drama around it. Let's do all that stuff." And I couldn't disagree more. Yeah. I think it is a very unprofessional look for a sport that suffers with how other sports and people see it. Yeah. And I think that keeping it professional and be more, well, I was going to say be more Benny Dariush. In some ways, be more Benny Dariush, but there's another ways that you definitely don't want to be more Benny Dariush, and we'll get onto those in a minute. But I just thought it was a bad look in general. I mean, imagine the hotel staff. You're just working behind the counter, and you're like, oh, no, the UFC boys in today. Because the last time they were here, they were just attacking each other in the lobby. Yeah. Like, it's when you see it on social media and you see it in kind of like within the MMA sphere, I think it's very easy for people to kind of go, oh God, he's going for him and he's going for him, and it's beef and it's drama and it's brilliant, isn't it? But actually, when you look at it from a point of view outside of the MMA sphere, it looks so pathetic. Yeah. It's like, what are you doing? Yeah. Professional sportsmen and women, or in this case, men, going after each other in a hotel lobby while people are just like going about their day. And I don't know, the UFC's probably booked it out for the UFC staff. Sure. There's probably not many randoms in there, but there might be. And then there's people that just like are going about their day, earning a living by working in the hotel, and they've got to put up with that.
I think, what do we need to see sort of change here? Do we need to see some kind of sort of, some maybe some financial punishments from their purses, for kind of creating stuff like? I mean, we all know that kind of stuff. I think Dana quite likes a little bit of that. That's when he's saying Conor McGregor's going to go to prison for throwing that, that pallet truck thing, whatever it was, the dolly at the coach, and then fast forward 6 months, and it's a key part of the
promo,
the promo,
the UFC countdowns,
and so I think
storylines that come out of stuff like this are useful to the UFC. And it does create a buzz for fans, like you know, Paddy and Tapourier, like the hand sanitizer boy stuff, all of that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't really want to see Paddy fight Tapourier anytime soon, but there's people out there that would love to see it because that's big. I mean, to be honest, the one that actually grabs me as like, oh, I'm gutted we didn't see that fight because of an altercation. Granted, it happened in the arena, not a hotel lobby. There's a slight difference, but not much. But was Masvidal-Leon.
Yeah.
That 3-piece and a soda, that whole thing, I think that is such a shame that never actually made it into the octagon as a proper fight. That was a beef that needed to be settled for me. But...
So in regards to this beef, let's not sort of dwell on it too much, but I guess the only way that fight might have happened and everything did not go, you know, that way was if maybe Arman lost and Bobby won. That
would have been the fight to make if Arman lost and Bobby won.
You know, the narrative would have bred that fight. Yeah. As it happens, it did not go that way. No, and I guess with that, should we move on?
I don't know. I don't think we should move on. Back up your photos.
Right, they're going back.
Back them up, because I think we still need to talk about what's next for Arman.
Okay, well,
and
he
maybe
called for a shot.
Benny Dariush as well.
He called for the title. I don't think that's happening.
I don't think it will happen, but I think. Well, do you know what? We're in a weird spot with Sarukian now. He's probably going to be ranked about 4th once the rankings are amended, and I think that. He made his debut against Makhachev and gave Makhachev one of his hardest fights. Mm-hmm. All right, let me put it to you though. In an ideal world, what is the next fight for Arman Sarukian? And then I'll tell you what I think I would like to see happen. And you can involve other fighters in this because the title picture is where he's at. He could potentially get a title shot. I think he's behind a couple of others. But what do you do with the lightweight division now? If you're booking that top 5, what are you doing?
If Oliveira loses
to Makhachev, that's not officially booked yet, is it?
Right. Okay.
So let's say that's not booked. I don't think that's officially booked yet.
Stop making it more difficult for me.
But it's just the game.
Well, if it's not booked, then I think Oliveira. I think that's a good fight. He's, you know,
what, Sarukian versus Oliveira, and would that mean Gaethje versus Makhachev?
Oh.
Because that's what I would do.
Yeah.
I think Oliveira beating Dariush after getting smashed by Makhachev, I don't think that's enough to get him back to a title shot. Don't get me wrong, I think Oliveira is amazing. I think he's such a brilliant fighter. Wins over the top guys in that division other than Makhachev. Incredible fighter. I just think he needs one more. And I think Sarukian Oliveira, and I also want to see Makhachev fight someone new. We've had Volkanovski twice, we've had Oliveira. I don't want Oliveira twice yet. Let's give Makhachev Gaethje, even though I think Oliveira's probably got a better chance of beating him than Gaethje, but I would rather see Makhachev v Gaethje, and then Oliveira versus Sarukian for the number 1 contender, and the winner of that then goes and fights Makhachev. And let's be honest as well, Makhachev keeps talking about going up to welterweight. I don't know how long he's going to be sticking around for, but I want him to stick around for longer. It will be a real shame, in my opinion, if we don't see a rematch between Sarukian and Makhachev, because I think that is going to be a brilliant fight.
Yeah.
A brilliant fight.
For Benil, I guess...
Benny's not in a good place.
No.
This is a real lesson for utilise your mic time. Any young fighters that might be listening to this that have aspirations of going far, I've spoken to people that work for UFC social media before, and even they have said to me, if you don't use that mic time, we're limited with what we can do. You use that mic time and you call out someone, we can start generating that fight. We can make it happen. And Benny Dariush beating Mateus Gamrot when Gamrot was, you know, really doing incredibly well, and then saying, I'll fight 100 guys, like, I don't care, whatever. No, mate.
Yeah.
Because then you will have to fight 100 guys. And then, look, he's gone the way of, I mean, not even a Tony Ferguson, because at least Ferguson got an interim title.
Yeah.
Benny Dariush was on an 8-fight win streak. He's not... I don't think Benny Dariush is going to get a sniff of a title shot ever. Ever. And you could say he deserved it, but he's not going to get it because...
I honestly think when he deserved it, I don't think he's like... I think that maybe 2 years ago, Beneil Islam, maybe before Islam had the belt.
Yeah.
I think that was the fight to get Islam that title shot. Obviously, since then we've seen him deserve that shot, and he's obviously done what he's done. But I think at that point, Beneil was such a good fight for Islam, and I think we would have seen another sort of wrestler really kind of see how he deals with it. But now, I don't know. Like you say, he seems like such a nice dude.
Yeah,
but he's not got that thing that where people just like I'm trying to think of a good example of people that like Wonder Boy, where people just love him.
Yeah,
I don't think he's quite there with that likability.
No.
And like you say, he's just like give him that mic, and he's like, yeah, I'll fight anyone. It's like, come on, man, like just and now I think that's left him in a really bad place, and I don't want to sort of pile on the shitness that he's probably dealing with at the moment, but I don't know what's left in his contract. He's I thought he looked quite old.
But he always has. It's because of the grey. He's only like early 30s.
Yeah.
He's always appeared older than what he actually is.
Same with me. And I think, I mean, I don't know what's left in his contract. And I'm just, we've touched upon it on previous episodes, with this merger now between the PFL and Bellator, I wonder how many fighters in this sort of position where it's like, look, I'm one of the best in the world at this weight, but I'm not going to get a title shot in the next 2 or 3 years. It's not going to happen. I've got to beat another 2 or 3 wins to get that title shot now, and it's not going to happen. And how much money am I going to make from them wins if I win them all? Maybe I look at the options elsewhere. I don't know.
I think he's in a position where it's kind of like, right, you're now the gatekeeper to like the top 3 or so. You're like, you beat Benny, you're getting a title shot, or you're one away from a title shot.
Fuck that, man. That's a shit
and
job.
that means you're fighting killers. It's not like you're fighting easy fights, like, you're a gatekeeper to the top 10, so you might get some that are like, they've been pushed too early, so you get a bit more of an easier win. He is going to be fighting the top guys. I mean, he may end up getting someone like Benoit Saint Denis.
Yeah.
Battle of the Bennies.
Yeah.
Benny v Benny.
Yeah.
Benny Saint Denis.
Yeah.
That's his Benny Dariush.
Too many Benny.
Too many Benny. Too many Benny. Oh, please can we have that? You know when the UFC used to name their cards? Like Revolution.
Yeah.
Renegade. Too many Benny. It's what I want to see now.
Yeah, I mean, then you don't want to be that gatekeeper. Look at Neil Magny. Like,
But what I'm saying is Neil Magny is a gatekeeper where he will get competition. Some of them will beat him.
Yeah.
Some of them he'll win. Like these ones, like I mean, I know that Dariush can beat some, like he did with Gamrot, but he's going to be fighting like the top guys, and guys that no one else wants to fight. Guys that he'll be against people where there's like beating them means nothing to the fans.
Yeah,
but if they beat him, it's a big deal for the other guys. So it's that kind of a high risk, low reward type fights. That's all Benny will be getting now, and I do feel for him.
Shall we move on?
Yes.
To Bobby Green, Jalen Turner.
Yes. Do you want to start talking about Terry Hatley? There he is.
Well,
Kerry Hatley.
Kerry Hatley.
Kerry Hatley.
I mean, let's go back a picture there, because
I mean, you can't get much closer than that, can you?
No.
I mean, it did look like he was right next to him for quite a long time. To me, it looked like Bobby Green was out for like the last 3 or 4 blows.
Look at in the corner of the picture there. If you're not watching this, you can see DC, and you can see that he's literally shouting at that ref, "Stop the fight." It was weird, and I just think so. To give this a little bit of context, Jalen Turner I mean, he's your nightmare fighter. He's so wiry, and his range, and Bobby Green was struggling with that range. And then, oh my life! I mean, we got what we wanted from Bobby Green in the early stages. We got lots of chat, got incredible head movement, but Jesus Christ! Like, he caught him behind the ear, and then all of a sudden, I weren't sure if he was showboating in that split second, and then it was like, oh no, his legs are gone, and then he just caught him again behind the ear, and he went down, and literally, he's face down, and Turner's on top of him, just raining, and I counted 10 unanswered shots, and it felt that he wasn't at for maybe 5 or 6 of them. He was just kind of still eating them shots, and then it felt like the ref was just waiting until he was unconscious, and it was fucking terrible.
It looked to me like he was unconscious for the last 3 blows.
Oh, 100%.
This is one of the worst kind of late stoppages I think I've seen.
I've not watched post-fight. As Dana mentioned, did he mention it?
I don't know that he has. I heard someone talking about it, and maybe Kerry Atley kind of put his hands up and was like, yeah, I messed up a bit there. But, I mean...
He's a very experienced referee in the UFC.
Yeah, he is.
So
I mean, he's not the top guys. He's not a Goddard, a Dean, or a Herzog or anything like that. But he's been around a long time. Yeah, really, really bad one. And it's moments like that just make you go, if you're going to get like... I hate to say it, like a death or something in the UFC, it's going to be stuff like that. Because he was face down as well, those strikes, yes, they were the side of the head, but when they're like slightly behind the ear as well. And that's nothing against Jalen. He was just raining down the blows, and I don't think he did anything wrong. That's going to cause some long-term damage. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what Bobby Green is like. Like, he seemed okay.
Yeah.
But...
I didn't think so. I thought when he stood up and he walked over to him...
Oh, he looked wobbly there.
He still looked wobbly, and that's not surprising. He's just been hit 10 times around the side of the head, unanswered by an absolute stone-cold, killer. And I just think referees make mistakes, we know that. We've seen it, multiple times, but it wasn't like he hit him once and he was out, and then maybe he got a couple of shots that he felt a bit too much. Full mount, just raining down shots on him, like onto his head, whilst the ref is literally 2 foot from it, watching it, and it's like he's not answering back, he's not covering up, he's just eating shots to the head. And I don't know what he was thinking. It was just, it was unpleasant to watch, and when you've got, I imagine it wasn't just the commentators shouting stop the fight. I'm sure there was cornermen. I'm sure there was other officials there just must have been barking at him like, what the fuck are you doing?
I was shocked by it. And what shocked me so much was that he didn't look like he was in a bad position or anything. He looked like right on top of it. And as we can see in this photo here, I don't know exactly what point in the ground and pound that is, but he's right on top of it. I mean, you can see the photo we've got here if you're watching YouTube. Bobby Green's hands are just like out, like he's asleep. Like he is
nowhere
out.
Near his head.
And Kerry Hatley, maybe he's coming in at this moment, but he doesn't look like he's right on top of it. And Jalen's about to land another strike here. You've got DC in the corner there, as we said. Like, it is not a good look at all. It's a really, really bad stoppage, and I don't understand what must have been going through his head. But look, hopefully Green comes back okay, because he's been a fun fighter that we all really, really like. But let's try and turn the attention onto Jalen Turner, because he took this fight on like just over a week's notice,
and
I think.
Made weight
on the second attempt, so he had a bad weight cut. I think there was some pre-fight media stuff he did where he was sort of saying that he didn't want to take this fight. The UFC called him and offered it to him, and he said no, and then they called him back, and he sort of felt like he had no choice. Yeah. Which, difficult position for someone to be in on a 2-fight losing streak. Maybe their confidence is low, and they're sort of potentially strong-armed into a fight on a week's notice that they really don't want to have. Made the weight on a week's notice, and the weight was a problem for him last time. I didn't see the images on the scale of him, but I heard he looked awful. And then he's come and put in a performance like that where he's just taken him out, I say, so very, very quickly. Incredible stuff. I don't know what's next for him. In my head, I don't know how long he's going to be out for, but obviously Hooker's got a win over him, and Hooker should have been in this fight. I'd be down to watch a rematch. Nah, not this soon. No, I don't want to watch it again this soon. No, I think a rematch like that, give it some time. Okay. And in the meantime? I was thinking RDA. I think he's ranked higher than him. It's someone who's a former champion. You get a win over him, it does loads for you. Whether RDA would take it, I don't know. I know he's a good shout. He's fluctuated between welterweight and lightweight, so I don't know where RDA's head at and what he wants to do. But for me, I think if you're Jalen and you fight a guy that's a few places ahead of you, which he should get because, you know, the UFC have asked him to do them this favour. He's done it.
Yep.
He's won. I think he should get a little bit of a reward despite just coming off of a two-fight losing streak. And I think Rafael dos Anjos, former champion, his name carries weight. It could be a Fight Night headliner as well. It could be an Apex headliner, or it could be going somewhere else or whatever. And I think that's a good stuff for Jalen Turner. I think that could really help him out.
I'm feeling that. Should we move on?
Yes, this was a fight you were really, really looking forward to, but we were both quite wrong in our predictions. What did you think of it?
I thought Figgy was really impressive.
Yeah, me too.
I thought the first round was close.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it could have gone either way, and it felt in that first round that Figgy was kind of struggling with the distance a little bit.
Yeah.
But it did seem that Font was kind of peppering him, and I think he threw more shots in the first round than Figgy. But it felt that he wasn't lacking his power, Figgy, at that. And
no, his power carried up well, didn't it?
Every shot he threw seemed to kind of really make his mark, whereas it looked like what Font was throwing wasn't really affecting him.
That's Font, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's lost fights like that before. He outstruck Jose Aldo. He outstruck Marlon Vera, but every big shot Vera landed on him, his legs were like jelly. He was all over. And that just seems to be what happens with Rob Font. That's a great picture, by the way. It looks like he's doing an Elvis impression. But if you look at Figgy, he's just he carried the power over, he carried the speed over.
I didn't think he looked small either. I didn't think he looked that small.
No, I don't. And also, I know we saw with the Sandhagen fight that Sandhagen was able to wrestle Font with a torn tricep. But I was surprised at how much Figueiredo was able to implement wrestling and take him down, and Font not be able to get up. He got up in the first round, I think.
I thought it was the jab of Figgy's that was really effective.
Yeah.
In that first round, he looked like he wobbled him a bit. He just threw that stiff jab, and it was like, whoa, that was the biggest shot of the round.
Yeah. It's interesting with Font. He seems really hard to finish. No one can really finish him, but he seems to feel the impact of strikes, and more importantly, shows visually the impacts of strikes to the judges.
Yeah.
Which obviously just doesn't do him any favours when he gets to the scorecards. You know, it's a problem for him. He seems to just react badly to getting hit. Some people can take it and eat it. He's never finished. Yeah, but he is wobbled a lot.
He was walking on the shots because, you know, Font's style in this fight, he was just walking him down, trying to cut off the octagon, and I think Figgy was just moving well, and like when he planted his feet and threw a shot back, it was way more significant than the shots that the Font was throwing. I gave the second round to Figgy and the last round, to be honest, but I did like it in the third when they both basically just bit down on the gum shield, and there was some wild swinging. Like, you know, we always like to see a little bit of that if it's going to go at the buzzer. But I'd have been interested to see if there was another 2 rounds where that would have gone. I think we would have seen Figueiredo dominate even more. I think he would have run away with it if there was another couple of rounds, because I think this was probably the first 3-round fight he's had in a while. Yeah,
I think so. I was just so impressed by him. Yeah. I thought, 35 years old, coming up in weight. I never thought he did struggle with the cuts down at 125, but I never thought of him as a bantamweight.
Yeah.
And he did really well. And this just leads me on to what we were saying in the pre-fight show. If he wins, which he did, Peter Yan. Peter Yan's on a 3-fight losing streak. He needs to be careful about who he's fighting, but he can fight a former champion in the weight class below. What's really interesting, I think they were both champions maybe at the same time, which is always like a nice little kind of wrinkle to add to a fight. And size-wise, I think they'll match up quite well.
Yeah.
I just think that's the fight to make, man.
Yeah.
Yan's ranked 5th. Figueiredo might be ranked something like 8th when this comes out, because that's where Font was. So I think Figueiredo versus Yan is a really good fight. And then after that, if he beats Yan, who knows? I don't think O'Malley's going to be that interested in fighting him, because I don't think he's like a big draw or anything like that. But I don't think O'Malley's going to be massively interested in fighting anyone.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he doesn't want to fight Merab. So anything you can do to stop his jacket getting stolen again is something he'll do. But yeah, that's the good one for me. And then poor old Rob Font obviously has had a bit of an up and down time of it. Smoked Adrian Yanez, but then has lost to Sandhagen. He's lost to Aldo. He lost to Vera. Yeah. I wonder if now Font's in a position where he's sort of a gatekeeper to the top 10 now, as we spoke about. And the guy who I really want to see get a good shot up in the upper echelons of that bantamweight division is Said Nurmagomedov. I'm a really big fan of his. I think his striking style is really good. He's got a nasty guillotine. He came off a good win in Paris with a quick guillotine finish. Said Nurmagomedov for me is a guy I really want to see do well. So put him against Font and let's see what happens. That could be a fun fight.
Okay, so should we move on to Brady Gastelum?
Yes, really. So I've come out of this, like, obviously props to Brady. I smashed him, wasn't competitive, completely dominated him. But I went into this fight card going, the most intriguing fight, not necessarily the best fight, but the most intriguing fight on the card for me was Brady Gastelum. Because I had so many questions. Yep. Has Brady filled in the holes in his striking over the last year he's had off? Has Kelvin Gastelum's kind of chin, durability and cardio transferred down to 170? Will his wrestling really help him out here? Because he's got all these high school and college wrestling credentials and all this stuff. And I've basically come away from the fight with very few answers to any of the questions I had.
It was a boring fight. It was a boring fight.
It was a dominant fight.
Like, yeah, and I've got to be honest, you know, I'm a big fan of Gastelum. You know, I've mentioned this on the pre-show. It felt like he just couldn't pull the trigger. It just felt like he just was not there. And I don't know if that's age catching up on him. I don't know if that's too many battles he's had have took its toll. I don't know if maybe this weight, this changing weight category has not served what he wants, because he's been in that octagon with people way more skilled and terrifying than Sean Brady.
Has he? Who?
Izzy.
All right, but Izzy was like a one-off brilliant performance, and their skill sets are incredibly different.
And I'm taking nothing away from Sean Brady. He dominated that fight.
Who's he beaten that's better than Sean Brady?
Bisping?
Bisping was sort of on the way out and had one eye. I mean, those are the facts, aren't they? I mean, Sean Brady's got one loss.
Yeah, and I thought you were going to say like one ear or something like that.
No, but like Brady's got one. Let's not underestimate Brady. He lost to Bilal Muhammad. Maybe Bilal Muhammad is, I think he's really good. He's a really good fighter, Bilal Muhammad. He's not a star. People don't gravitate towards him as a personality, but he's a very, very good fighter.
Yeah.
Sean Brady's only loss is to Bilal Muhammad. Like, let's not underestimate how good he might be. He might be a champion one day.
Yeah. I'm not hating on him, but I just, you know, you don't like to see your favourite fighters lose, and it wasn't competitive, and I just wonder where Kelvin's head's at now. Like, what is he going to be thinking? Like, look, you know, I've dropped down, I've put all of this work in to fight at this weight, and it's not worked, and it's not worked badly. Like, you know, he had no answers, and I don't know if the cardio seemed okay, but he was just stuck there underneath him, and yeah, it just, you know, it was a complete domination, and I think also when it was on its feet, I think Kelvin really struggled with the range. Like, it just felt that like Brady was just sharper. You know, and he I don't know. It just looked like somebody that's going places, fighting somebody that he's kind of starting to get to the end of his career and making sort of decisions as to what might help his career at this point. And that weight cut, I don't think, has served him well, certainly from what we saw at the weekend.
I don't think the weight cut's necessarily the problem. I didn't see a guy that was, you know, too battle worn or couldn't pull the trigger or anything like that. I saw a guy who just could not compete from a grappling point of view with the guy in front of him.
Fair enough.
And that's all I saw. I think that I was putting a lot of stock in Gastelum's ability to stop takedowns because of his high school wrestling and all this kind of stuff. I thought, he should be able to deal with that. And he couldn't. And it just made me realise all this high school wrestling stuff and all that maybe isn't all it's chalked up to be.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Brady has any of those credentials as far as I'm aware. Maybe I'm wrong. But he was able to take him down so easily. And not just that, but other than the first round where he did a really interesting sweep where Gastelum kind of reached behind, grabbed his head and pulled himself up. DC was talking about going fishing or something like that, some kind of wrestling thing. That was really interesting, and that was a good bit of defensive wrestling that Gastelum showed. But other than that, he had nothing for him. And in turn, what that led to is it's led to me not really knowing much about Sean Brady either. Because I already knew Sean Brady was a fantastic grappler. Mm-hmm. If he could get someone to the ground, you're in big, big trouble.
Yeah.
But the questions I have about Sean Brady are the holes in his striking game. We saw it at the end of the Chiesa fight. We saw it in the Bilal Muhammad fight. But Gastelum didn't enable us to see answers to that question because he didn't keep it on the feet long enough. Sorry. So, yeah, I've come away from it just a bit disappointed with the lack of answers to questions that I had.
So he called out Ian Gary.
Yeah.
I'm presuming at the moment everybody's calling that Ian Gary because unfortunately, Ian doesn't seem to be very popular with the UFC community at the moment. And
I don't feel like he's really done anything.
No, and I'm going to base any of this on the fact that we've met Ian and he's been on the show many times and he's great. He's always really nice. And we've met Layla as well and she's been absolutely lovely to us. And for some reason, people are taking pot shots at him. Yes, he's a very confident young man, and the hype train he's gathering speed around him. And yes, he's going from gym to gym. I have no issue with that. I think if he wants to go to all these different gyms and kind of pick the best bits from all of it and increase his skill set, why not? I
think that's fine, but I think that will lead to situations like what we had with Leon Edwards.
Of course.
And I can understand that side of it as well.
Yeah.
I think it is good to go to different places and gain knowledge from loads of different people, but equally, I can also understand fighters' points of view of being like, well, I don't want you hanging around here too long and getting, an idea of the weaknesses of this guy, and this guy.
The thing with Leon, obviously, that fight I'm sure will happen at some point, and so I understand that. But I don't know. I mean, obviously, when we met Ian, it was when he won the Cage Warriors belt.
Yes,
and he ended up nearly not having that fight because his corner did not want anything to do with him, and he had no one cornering him. In the end, I think it was Paul Hughes cornered him on his own. I know there was talk that Brad Pickett was in the building, so maybe Brad was going to do it because he couldn't fight without a corner. And so, I don't know. Maybe his confidence, some people aren't a fan of. I don't know. I take people as I find them. He's always been fantastic with us, very supportive of the podcast. But, it does feel like everybody's calling him out. Sean Brady, I don't know.
I think it's a good call-out from Brady.
Yeah.
Whether he gets the fight or not, I'm not sure. But I think, going after a guy with a lot of hype, Sean Brady is not a star. If he can derail the Gary hype train, that'd be really good. Obviously, Gary's got to get through Luque first.
I think if he gets through Luque, there's bigger fights than Sean Brady. I think, with the star power that Gary seems to be getting, then I think there could be something way more exciting than Sean.
Well, obviously, there's the Wonder Boy fight, but Wonder Boy is fighting Rachmanov soon. If Colby loses to Leon, which I think he will, do they give Gary if he wins the Colby fight? I don't know. I mean,
we got to wait and see if there's another exciting striker about to make his name in that division.
Oh. Let's go, MVP. Let's go. Still hasn't announced anything, has he? And there was that board with Kevin Holland, which is a great fight.
Yeah, that's a great fight.
I'd love that fight.
It was interesting when he said about the Wonder Boy fight, cancelling each other out because, and when I see that little bit, for those that don't know, I presume most of you do, we posted about it on the socials, but Dana was given an interview, and behind him was a kind of a board of potential fights, and one of them was Kay Holland versus M Page, wasn't it?
Absolutely. So let's move on to Clay Guida versus Joaquim Silva. What did you think? Because you were calling for Clay to potentially retire after this fight.
I mean, that guy has got cardio for days. Like, what are you laughing at?
No.
Right. What? I thought, again, as you do with any Guida fight, just bouncing around the octagon, great footwork, loads of speed, for what he's, I guess, in terms of professionalism at his level, for an old man. But I think in that first round, Silva caught him with a beast of an uppercut in that first round.
Yes.
And it definitely gave him something to think about. What I thought was interesting in the second round, he passed Damian Maia for the second most control time in the octagon. So he's now the second. He's not the champ at it, but he's just overtook Damian Maia for control time in the octagon. I mean, he's had, I think,
I would have thought he'd been up there in just time in the octagon.
5,016 fights he's had in the UFC.
Control time, not just time in the octagon.
Control time.
Oh.
Yeah. There was great knees from Silva, but then it just, I thought Silva's running away with it, and then Clay just threw his massive overhand right, and I thought, but it didn't seem to have that kind of impact that Silva's shots were.
Do you still think he needs to retire?
I don't know. I mean, I
felt like he performed well enough.
Yeah, absolutely. He never looked like he was going to get bashed out of there and hurt, and he didn't look slow, and he was very competitive. So maybe not. But I think, is that 16 losses he's had in the UFC now? I don't know, something like that.
It's a lot, but it's Clay.
But yeah, like unanimous win to Silva. But I don't know. The fans like Clay, don't they?
He's still got a good chin and good cardio, and him being on a card like this just gives it a little something extra for those like prelims and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you did notice at all. We had a slight technical issue on when we were talking about the Gastelum and Brady fight, but hopefully we've got through that seamlessly, and absolutely no one has noticed any kind of changes on the show. Let's move on. Soriano Stoltzfus. Second round rear naked choke for Stoltzfus. Good performance, but not really got much to say about it.
No, I made no notes on that. It didn't particularly set my world on fire. Should we get onto the cupcake?
Oh, cupcake, baby. Yep. Misha Tate absolutely dominating Avila. Got the finish by rear naked choke in the third. And I just think, again, she is potentially one win away from a title shot because bantamweight is so rudderless after losing Nunes. There's not really... I mean, it's been a bit weird for a while, even with Nunes, but without Nunes, I do think now she's the biggest name in that division, Misha Tate now. I would love to see the rematch between her and Holly Holm. I think that'd be a really great fight. And I think the winner of that fight could easily punch their ticket to a title shot. Whether it's right or not is another issue. But when your title fight is Pennington, Bueno Silva, all due respect to Bueno Silva, I think she could be really, really good. And Pennington, she's been around for a while. But I think names like Tate and Holm, if Bueno Silva wins the belt, and then she can defend the belt against like a Misha Tate or a Holly Holm in her first title defence, it just adds a little bit more weight to her name. She's beaten, someone that we're all very aware of. Last fight that we want to talk about is surely... Oh, well, actually, unless you want to talk about some other stuff. I know there was 2 slam KOs in a row.
Yeah, absolutely. How can we not sort of mention them? Because it's crazy to... I mean, we're talking about... Drakkar Close and who was it? Cody
Brundage.
Brundage, yeah. Literally both just slam knockouts.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. Literally one fight after the next, and
I know
it was just. I mean,
I think there's only been like 10, 12 slam KOs in the UFC, and we got 2 of them on the same night, back to back.
Yeah, yeah,
it was crazy.
Drakkar Klose, I really liked his post fight because he was in the armbar, wasn't he? And he just picked him up with it, and then it was just like the sound when his head hit the canvas. It's like, oh dear, sleepy time. But
sleepy time.
But yeah, I thought the post fight was fantastic. Did you catch his interview?
No, I fast forwarded that bit, if I'm honest.
They said, right, okay, this is your moment. Who do you want to fight? And he just went, the easiest guy in the UFC, please. I just want the money.
Brilliant. Why don't more people do that? He knows he's never going to be a champion. I just want to make some money.
Yeah, the easiest guy, please.
I'm not earning more for fighting these really dangerous guys that are going to smash me up. Give me the easy fights.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. I love that logic.
Benil Dariush should have made a little note of that.
Oh, Jesus.
Just give me an easier one than this, please. Spin it for the money.
Veronica Hardy.
I have not seen this. This was on the Fight Pass prelims, wasn't it?
Yes, so I did watch it.
Did you?
Yeah, Veronica looked really good, particularly in the first, second rounds. It looked like she got a little bit more tired towards the third. It was given as a split decision. I don't think it was a split. I think I gave it clearly to Veronica.
Yeah.
I know I may be slightly biased, but I felt like she won round 1 and round 2, and I thought Lynn Horth maybe came back in the third and maybe squeaked out the third, won the third, but yeah, I think Veronica's on a great run, and it's so wholesome, isn't it? Look at that, Dan and Brody. I know this is probably from the March
London card,
from the London card, but it's that kind of stuff. And I saw that in the post-fight presser, she was talking about how much she loves Dan, and then he put up a tweet saying how much it's the feeling is so mutual and all that. And it's really wholesome and lovely.
I love you, Dan.
I love you too.
I love
Got
you.
a bit awkward now. I thought you were going to say you love me.
I did.
When?
Just then.
No, I didn't hear it. You didn't say it as loud as you said it to Dan. You sort of like, to Dan, you were like a big, I love you, Dan, to like the big camera down there.
Yeah.
With me, it's just like a little aside.
Like an afterthought.
Like an afterthought, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. I mean, it's great, isn't it? I mean, to go back to that London thing, the picture we got here of them embracing in the octagon afterwards, it's so nice to see Dan in the UFC, but and it's just so exciting to see what he's doing over at the PFL, and that job he's going to just only grow now with the merger. And he's just such a nice guy. And if you have never listened or watched our chat with Dan Hardy, you know that guy knows his shit, and it's a fantastic episode. So go and check that out. It's in the archive. And while you're on that archive, why not go and listen to our episode with Veronica? We had Veronica on for a great chat. And if you've not checked out YouTube yet, head over to YouTube and have a little look at this studio that we're sitting in right now, because we've upped our game on the visuals, and we're putting out some great looking stuff. There's occasionally some issues where you might, if you've got a trained eye, see some sort of seamless, some little links where we've had to sort of do a bit of very, very clever editing. But I don't know. I think you'd have to have a very trained eye to spot it.
Yeah, maybe. Can I have my jumper back now, please?
Yes, you can. Sorry. Yeah, it's a bit snug.
Your arms are so freakishly long. They're just like, I've got long arms.
Yeah.
But show it that you did like. That's ridiculous.
I'm the Jalen Turner of podcasting. Well, look, we're back next time. If you've not checked out the episode with MVP, go over to YouTube now and watch it. Or if you just enjoy listening to these in the podcast format, continue to do so. But what we ask you, whatever format you listen on or watch on, please subscribe, drop us a message, and we can continue this lovely little journey that we're on.
Hopefully this episode will be out soon, and our next episode, we're hopefully recording it in a few days, will be an Ask Us Anything episode, I think. So please ask us anything, whatever questions you might have, MMA related, whether it be Stu's lengthy arm related questions, I don't know, but please get us your questions over. We will endeavour to answer them.
Absolutely. Ask us anything other than me to come around and do any kind of sort of manual labour or heavy lifting.
Bye.